Hello everyone, Kisma Mike here, your pop culture specialist. So, as you all know, today is an important day. I mean, if you are a movie buff, you know that today is the Oscars. So, happy Oscars day, everybody. Let's talk about it. Right? So, I am so happy to say that this time I was able to watch all the Oscar nominated movies. And so I want to share with you my thoughts on the Best Actor category. So let's get to it, right? So, okay, let me just say that this is such an amazing category. I think this is one of the most intense in terms of competition because they're all amazing. As a reminder, we got Ralph Fiennes from Conclave, Adrien Brody from The Brutalist, Timothee Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, and Colman Domingo for Sing Sing. So I've seen all their films, so I'm happy to just kind of talk to you about my favorites. Actually, I'm going to talk about more on who I think will win, and basically I have my ranking. So I'm ranking the performances, starting with number 5 and then ultimately who I think will win. So this is not the same as my personal favorites, because I will talk about that a little bit. My top pick for who will win, it's not necessarily my favorite, I think. All right, so let's start with number 5, Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice. I mean, one thing I would say, just because Sebastian is number 5, it doesn't mean he's bad or horrible. I mean, these 5 actors are already great. The top 5, it's already the cream of the crop. So I think with Sebastian, I mean, he is a wonderful actor. Last year, he actually, aside from The Apprentice, he had another movie, which I also saw, which is A Different Man. And I think I actually like his performance in that movie more than The Apprentice. But for The Apprentice, for me, his performance was good, right? Overall, I think it was good. I think for the film itself, the performance that really blew me away was actually Jeremy Strong's as Ray Cohn, the lawyer. And there's just this scene over there that really stole the movie. I mean, as a gay person myself, I mean, I think you know what I mean, but kind of watch it out. There's no spoiler. I was just so shocked when I saw it. I'm like, wow, Jeremy Strong, I didn't know that he would, do it, for a role like that. But anyway, the things that are good about Sebastian Stan for his portrayal, for me, I think overall, it's a very naturalistic portrayal, right? It's not one of those like cheap imitation, it's not like a skit, kind of portraying Trump. So I think for me, I feel like Sebastian still sort of took his own approach, basically his own take on the character. It's not necessarily like an imitation as what I've said earlier. I mean, he was able to get some of the mannerisms, I think, like some of the movements, like of the lips, like the face, like the head, so there's just so many kind of physical references that I thought were really good, portraying the character of Trump. But yeah, as I've said, it's still a great performance, still a wonderful performance. I think maybe the only thing that I can think of was maybe I was looking for some more scenes where I think he can show more of his range, for that particular portrayal. So maybe that's kind of the reason why Sebastian is number 5 for me. Okay, so there you go. Let's go to my next pick. Number 4, from my list of the Best Actor nominees is Colman Domingo. So from Sing Sing. Let me just say, this movie, I love this movie. It was a very moving story. I also love the fact, from a filmmaker perspective, that they have, I think, 95% of the movie itself, I think, took place in prison. And if you don't know what the movie is about, it is about the theater group in the prison facility. And I think it's based on real life. And they also have real inmates that actually performed as actors in this film, Colman Domingo. I would say Colman, I'm such a big fan of Colman Domingo. I mean, he is one of those magnetic actors that, whenever he speaks, you listen. He's one of those. Like, so when he's speaking, throughout the movie, I'm always attentive, like actively listening and like feeling the emotion and present. He has that presence about him. So yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I think for the film, the reason why it's number 4, and by the way, just to reiterate, it doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, they're already the top 5 from last year, so they're amazing, they're great, they're wonderful. Yeah, for him, it's very natural. The character he's really portrayed is very much, the character embodiment is really spot on. Very nuanced portrayal of being a prison inmate. There were 2 big moments for him, and maybe it's sort of the same reasoning that I have for Sebastian earlier, why I have Colman as number 4 instead of like the top pick of the winner, right? Maybe maybe there weren't a lot of like kind of big powerful moments, I think, that usually kind of tip the award for one person over another, right? But he's amazing. I mean, the ones that I really loved were really this is a spoiler, right? The meltdown scene. So there was a scene in the movie where he just had a meeting with his parole officer, talking about whether he would basically, get out of prison, but it didn't happen. And so there was like a change in his aura and his behavior and all that, and he had a little meltdown while there, while he was with his, theater group. And then the ending too. I mean, the ending is really, he eventually got out. So you can see in his face kind of like the redemption, the freedom. So you can really see that in his, in his facial expressions, his body and all that. So I think overall, I mean, it was still a wonderful performance. And, I guess I'm just kind of looking for like, okay, what is that? The big, powerful scene that screams, okay, that's an Oscar. That's an Oscar winner. So yeah, anyway, that's my number 4 is Colman Domingo. All right. Number 3, Ralph Fiennes' Conclave. Conclave is one of my favorite movies from last year. Check out the other video that I have, where I talked to Charles Gray, filmmaker, and we, basically talk about the movie itself, Conclave. But for me, the biggest thing about Ralph Fiennes, for this role, to me, he's such a perfect, I can see him. It's the believability, right? Like he is a cardinal to me. He's like, he could have been the Pope too, for real, like in real life. I think there's something so powerful about this performance too, because his embodiment of the character, he showcases, and here's kind of where I get into more of the specifics, right? Why I think I have this a number 3, a little higher than 4 and 5 is because of that range of emotion that he was able to portray for this character. There's the tenderness to it, like the soft-spoken side of the cardinal, and you can see, in his facial expression, sometimes even when he's not talking, you can see that there's so much emotion there. There's really that empathy that you feel, and that's really so powerful, from a performance perspective. And then there are also moments in which he's commanding power and, like firmness, because he's got to be. He's like the leader in the conclave and setting things in motion. So, I mean, it's really an amazing performance. Ralph Fiennes, I've been a fan of him for a long time. Definitely one of my favorites. So for this year's Oscars, I have Ralph Fiennes ranked as number 3. All right. Next up is Timothée Chalamet, number 2, for A Complete Unknown. And this is actually the movie that I watched, I guess the last. I just saw it recently. And let me just tell you this. I've been a Timothée Chalamet fan from the beginning. Maybe more the beginning of his, not his career, but when he became more recognized, right, after Call Me By Your Name. I know that he was in other films before too, like Interstellar and all that. But, I stan Elio. Okay, I am an Elio fan. But to me, his portrayal as Bob Dylan, I would say this is probably his best performance yet. Best performance yet. I was just blown away by his performance. And, I literally started watching Bob Dylan videos from the past after watching, this movie. Because, I know who Bob Dylan is, but, he was popular in the 60s and 70s and all that. And I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't around at that time, basically. And even when I started paying more attention to pop culture, I wasn't really into Bob Dylan. So I'm not familiar with a lot of his works, just to be honest. But when I saw Bob Dylan's music and video, after I saw Timothée Chalamet, I was like, wow, Timothée nailed that. And his musicality, it was just so amazing. I think he deserves the nomination just because of him being able to showcase a range of talent, his talent, his musical ability, his singing ability, playing guitar and even piano and harmonica and all that. And then on top of that, have the performance, the dramatic performance, the portrayal, embodying who Bob Dylan is, his physicality. You can tell that the way he speaks about it, because there's a transformation in his character to Bob Dylan, basically starting with the beginning of his career and then getting famous, becoming famous, and the arc that goes along with it, from a character perspective. So yeah, I think the only thing I would say, sometimes, because Timothée Chalamet is unique, actor, just the way he is. And sometimes people talk about this, and I've heard this before, that when you watch him in one movie versus the other, sometimes it's like, oh, it's Timothée Chalamet, you know what I'm saying? But with this movie, I think he was able to get out of that Timothée Chalamet shell, if that means anything, because he was able to embody Bob Dylan, and it was so different, different from what I've seen him before. The only, I guess, criticism is, and I've read it in some of the articles as well, his portrayal is really an acquired taste, and I definitely agree with that. It's not for everybody. He could not be, it's not for everybody. It's not everyone's cup of tea, rather, is what I'm saying. So, remember in the beginning I say I have my personal favorite from this list. That's him, Timothée. But, just looking at the totality, objectively, at the performances, I guess that leads me to who I think is going to win. And for me, number one is Adrien Brody in The Brutalist. And to me, the movie itself, the themes, the character, it just screams Oscars from the get-go. So, it already kind of checks a lot of boxes, and also very intense performance, and he gave it his all. I was just mesmerized, and everything positive is all I can think of whenever I think of Adrien Brody's performance here. Thinking about the emotion, kind of feeling that emotion of an immigrant from Hungary moving to the United States, during that period after the war, and starting from scratch and working, and then, meeting people in the United States that eventually helped him, and then reuniting with his family. Oh, it's just amazing. Powerful performance. I'm trying to think if I have any more notes here. It's really just, magnetic. yeah, I mean, it's like overall, the emotional connection is there, the body language, the facial expressions, the embodiment of the character. You can really feel it. I think that's ultimately it. It's like the feeling that I felt after watching him. It was just so intense and it's so powerful. It really took me there. I guess just to sum it up. So there you go. That is my commentary for today. Let me know who you think is gonna win the Oscars for Best Actor. If you agree, share it in the comments. And once again, happy Oscars, everybody. Bye.